All right, y'all. Here we go. New article in Politico here. Trump allies prepare to infuse Christian nationalism in second administration. Spearheading the effort is Russell Vought, president of the Center for Renewing America, part of a conservative consortium preparing for Trump's return to power. So this reminds me of Project 2025, right? And I think this is part of Project 2025. For those of you who don't know, it's like literally dozens or hundreds of right-wing think tanks came together last year, and they outlined exactly what they want a second term of Trump to be. To be fair, at the time, they were saying literally any Republican president, and we can get this thing done. But obviously, Trump is the one who's going to be the nominee. And so they're saying this is exactly what we want a second Trump term to look like. And guys, these people are ruthlessly efficient. They dot every I, they cross every T, they know how to work the levers of power in our government. And they have a very, very detailed plan that they want to roll out. And it's everything you can imagine under the sun that is basically Christian nationalism mixed with total economic deregulation, tax cuts for the rich, starve the government, and make it so it can't do anything positive. That's what we're talking about here. So they say an influential think tank close to Donald Trump is developing plans to infuse Christian nationalist ideas in his administration should the former president return to power, according to documents obtained by Politico. Spearheading the effort is Russell Vought, who served as Trump's director of the Office of Management and Budget during his first term and has remained close to him. Vought, who is frequently cited as a potential chief of staff in a second Trump White House, is president of the Center for Renewing America think tank, a leading group in a conservative consortium preparing for a Trump second term. Christian nationalists in America believe the country was founded as a Christian nation and that Christian values should be prioritized throughout government and public life. As the country has become less religious and more diverse, Vought has embraced the idea that Christians are under assault and has spoken of policies he might pursue in response. One document, drafted by CRA staff and fellows, includes a list of top priorities for CRA in a second Trump term. Christian nationalism is one of the bullet points. Wow. Others include invoking the Insurrection Act on day one to quash protests and refusing to spend authorized congressional funds on unwanted projects. So let's just pause here to say none of this is a thing. It's not a thing to basically declare martial law on day one. That would be a degree of authoritarianism that shouldn't be within the realm of possibility in the United States of America. This was the thing, for those of you who don't remember, that Trump tried to do it during the George Floyd protests and riots, and his own generals were like, yeah, we can't do that. We're not going to deploy the U.S. military on our own streets. We're not going to do that. We're not going to declare martial law. We're not going to make this a total police state in every way, shape, and form. And it was thanks to the generals that didn't happen. But Trump wanted that to happen. He wanted to do the Insurrection Act. Now they're talking about, well, we know there's going to be anti-Trump protests on day one, so why not deploy the military, get ahead of it, and totally lock everything down? That's insane. What else is insane is refusing to spend money already authorized by Congress to go to particular things. In other words, what they're saying is, if we don't agree with the thing Congress approved and allocated funds for, we're just not going to follow through. Well, then at that point, let's stop kidding ourselves. Whatever remnants of a democracy remain that we have, we wouldn't have one at all at that point. CRA's work fits into a broader effort by conservative, MAGA-leaning organizations to influence a future Trump White House. Two people familiar with the plans, who were granted anonymity to discuss internal matters, said that Vought hopes his proximity and regular contact with the former president, he and Trump speak at least once a month, according to one of the people, will elevate Christian nationalism as a focal point in a second Trump term. The documents obtained by Politico do not outline specific Christian nationalist policies, but Vought has promised a restrictionist immigration agenda, which, by the way, is hilariously ironic, because if there's one thing the Bible it is massively pro-immigrant. They say treat the sojourners like your own family. Sojourners, how they referred to immigrant. It's so pro-immigration, it's incredible. And this guy's a Christian nationalist, and he's like, well, let's hate the immigrants together. Saying a person's background doesn't define who can enter the U.S., but rather citing biblical teachings, whether that person accepted Israel's God, laws, and understanding of history. So in other words, this is the ideological screening. This is the thought police. When it comes to immigration, they'll say, are you any kind of a leftist? Are you a Marxist? Are you a communist? Are you a social democrat? If you are, sorry, you're not allowed in. Are you a Christian? If you are allowed in. If not, sorry, we're not interested. right? This is all ideological screening. Vaught has a close affiliation with Christian nationalist William Wolf, a former Trump administration official who has advocated for overturning same-sex marriage, ending abortion, and reducing access to contraceptives. Look, you might be sitting there going, come on, Kyle, that's not going to happen. But people were saying overturning Roe versus Wade wouldn't happen. And you know what? It did happen. And now we have the case in Alabama where the state Supreme Court said, an embryo will be treated as human life. So now in vitro fertilization is on the line. The morning after pill is going to be in the crosshairs. Abortion pill, that's going to be in the crosshairs. The conservative states are trying to make it so that, no abortion, even if it's super early on in the pregnancy and it's a gamete or a zygote or what. They say that's murder. They say that's unacceptable. Some states have had conversations. Hey, let's charge them with murder if a woman goes to get one of those procedures even early on. Guys, this is where we are right now. Vaught, who declined to comment, is advising Project 2025, as I said, a governing agenda that would usher in one of the most conservative executive branches in modern American history. The effort is made up of a constellation of conservative groups run by Trump allies who've constructed a detailed plan to dismantle or overhaul key agencies in a second term. Among other principles, the project's mandate for leadership states that freedom is defined by God, not man. So what they want to do here is go full Christian theocracy and do it by using the governing philosophy of the unitary executive theory. This is what George W. Bush and Dick Cheney did during the War on Terror. They said, we believe in the unitary executive theory. So basically, we're going to be more like an emperor or a dictator or a tyrant than we're going to be like a president. And we're going to overrule and override, whether it be the court system if we need to, or Congress if we need to. And we're going to make all the decisions. And it's a top-down sort of structure. That's what we're talking about here. So in a sense, it's the opposite of the old school conservative idea of like small government. It's actually the biggest government in the sense that it's most hands-on by the president. They get to make most of the decisions. And in some ways, they want to starve the government and make it non-existent, like when it comes to regulation of the marketplace. But they want really big government when it comes to your private life, for example. They want really big government when it comes to controlling a woman's body. They want to end same-sex marriage, as we already discussed. You guys know the laundry list of stuff that is on that Project 2025 list, and it is not good. The Trump campaign has repeatedly said that it alone is responsible for assembling a policy platform and staffing for a future administration. In response to various news articles about how conservatives are preparing for a second Trump term, campaign advisors Susie Wiles and Chris LaCivita said in a memo last year, despite our being crystal clear, some allies haven't gotten the hint, and the media in their anti-Trump zeal has been all too willing to continue using anonymous sourcing and speculation about a second Trump administration in an effort to prevent a second Trump administration. Trump's campaign declined to comment for the story. So, look, it's not theoretical. It's not up in the air. It's not a potential thing. We already know the tremendous amount of work that's gone into Project 2025. For those of you who haven't watched my video on Project 2025, do yourself a favor and go look at it. We already covered this stuff in detail. It's a whole laundry. It also includes national anti-trans legislation, national anti-abortion legislation. It's everything you can imagine. It's like the right's version of the Green New Deal. Remember how the Green New Deal became like a grab bag of every single left-wing policy that lefties want? Well, Project 2025 is that for the right. The difference is the right actually usually gets their stuff done, whereas the left doesn't. It gets watered down. It gets destroyed in 14 different ways. It gets broken up into 17 different bills, and one of them passes with the left. With the right, you guys know they usually get their way, whether it's deregulation or tax cuts for the rich or destroying the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau or what have you. And that's what we're looking at here. So look, the fact of the matter is Trump himself, everybody knows he's not a hardcore Christian. Everybody knows he's not very religious. He made fun of Mike Pence because of how anti-gay Mike Pence is. We know all of that stuff. But that's not the bottom line. The bottom line here is he's too lazy and doesn't care enough to get into the specifics of how to govern on these topics. And he just delegates it to these experts, like he delegated foreign policy to John Bolton, for example, a neocon. Trump acted like he wasn't a neocon, delegated foreign policy to a neocon. It's the same thing with domestic policy. It's the same thing with economic policy. Yeah, give it to the American Enterprise Institute. Give it to these right-wing think tanks. Give it to the Project 2025 guys who want to, 2025 guys. That reminded me of the burger, Five Guys. Give it to them. Let them make the decisions, and, they're going to be pro-Christian nationalism, and I guess so am I. That's what's going to happen. We already know it. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.